So the first thing is to actually recognize what those limiting beliefs are. So understand when you're saying something like, gosh, I'm not very good at this, or I'm terrible with money, whatever it is that you're saying. The first thing that you need to do is realize that you're saying it. The second thing you need to do is ask yourself if that's really true. Is that true? If you say you're terrible with money, are you really terrible with money? Or did you just have really bad circumstance at a point in your life that caused you to have some money issues? Right. But are you really terrible with it? Or can you learn to be better with it?
This is Find Joy with Joyan Season 2, where joy gets stronger, our community gets bigger, and together we become better versions of ourselves in a world full of limitless possibilities. I'm your host, Joyan Chan. And every Wednesday, we bring you inspiring stories that will light up your soul, powerful message that will make you go wow, and fun conversations that will crack you up with me and my special guests and friends. And it's my personal mission to empower you to live and lead a life with joy. If you are new here, this podcast is for you. If you are looking for more joy, courage, passion, and purpose in your life, we dive deep into mindset mastery, spirituality, love and relationship matters, and how to manifest more success and abundance in all aspects of your life, however that looks. This podcast has got your back every step of the way. Now, without further ado, get ready to laugh, learn, and live your life to the fullest. Our guest today empowers others in overcoming internal obstacles to financial success. In a career as a financial planner, she witnessed clients facing self-imposed obstacles that hindered their financial growth. And many times she found herself thinking if only they could break free from these financial barriers, or more realistically, they need to get out of their own way. Reflecting on this, she thought about her own experiences with money. Growing up in a lower middle class household, she had inherited a scarcity mindset. And as her life progressed, she experienced diverse money situations and observed many narratives, and through self-realization, she set out on a journey of self-improvement and unwittingly rewrote her money script. So she's here today to empower you to shift your money mindsets, dismantling internal obstacles blocking your financial success. So guys, help me in welcoming the money mindset mentor, Linda Grizely. Welcome to the show, Linda.
Thanks, Joyan. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you call yourself the money mindset mentor. What is money mindset to you?
So money mindset is the things that are inside your head that you believe about money. And a lot of them are you're not aware of. They're in your subconscious mind, but it affects the way you deal with money every day. It affects your purchasing decisions, your budgeting decisions, and even can block you from getting ahead, right? So it can be knowing your self-worth or feeling a feeling of self-worth or what you feel you are entitled to in your life. So I work with people on uncovering what those obstacles are in their mind that keep them from being prosperous.
Right. So yeah, we all know that mindset plays, a significant role in all areas of our life. It could be finance, it could be health. What is the fastest way for a person to transform their money mindset?
So it doesn't happen overnight, but the fastest way is to realize that you need to make a change. Because that's always the first step, right? Is realizing like I need to make a change. Something needs to happen for me to move forward. And then just start realizing and noticing the things that you're doing. So uncover your habits, realize what those habits are. And then also realize what your triggers are, or things that make you do things that you do. For instance, like impulse buying, or, buying yourself something when you've had a bad day, those spending things, but also the not spending. Are you so worried about spending money that you are not giving yourself a life that's comfortable for you? And I'm not by any means saying that you should spend outside of your means. I'm just saying that sometimes we cut back too much and it just creates more stress.
Yeah, I think I heard that I heard it before, there are spenders and there are savers. People who just never spend money, they just save, and people who just keep spending and they never save, right? So it's all depends on which side you are on. But I believe there is a better way of dealing with money, right? Which is that's what we're gonna talk about today. So what would you say, after working with so many people, clients, as a financial planner, now as a money mindset mentor, what are some of the most common limiting beliefs that you have come about money that you have come across over and over and over again after working with so many people?
I think the biggest thing is just that everybody's struggling to get more money and not living within their means. So, and I don't like to use the term budget because budgeting has kind of a negative context where people think that I'm going to have to cut back on everything. But really paying attention to cash flow is more the important part, right? And thinking of like what's coming in and what's going out in the sense of, is this really making sense for me to get ahead? And then, understanding concepts about money. And especially as women, a lot of times we are brought up to not really know a whole lot. Like we don't talk about money. We don't have those conversations. And so we're kind of just like muddling our way through, and we all make mistakes. And by learning more, then you can make less mistakes. And by working with a mentor or a financial planner or whatever, a financial coach, whoever you decide to work with, can help you get through things and understand it better so that you aren't making the same mistakes that everybody else makes, learning from someone who has been there and knows what those things are that you might, take a misstep on.
Right. What do you think? Yeah, that's why you only work with women, right? As your clients. Is that the reason? Why do you think as women we are, yeah, like you said, right? We were not being educated since young, or we were not allowed to talk about money. I don't know, because in my household, I only have sisters. Like there's no brothers in my family, and so my dad is the only man, and so he takes care of everything, like money and everything, right? So for yourself, I mentioned that in your bio, you also came, not that I mentioned, you mentioned in your bio that you also came from a scarcity mindset. So how did you start working on your own money mindset and ultimately become a money mindset mentor?
So I actually started working on it without even realizing that's what I was doing. I just had a point in my life where I knew that I needed to make a drastic change and that I wasn't going to be able to survive in the long term in the way I was in the way my life was going. So I had gotten divorced and was, back into the workplace after being out of the workplace for a while, the traditional workplace that is, and was not making enough money to even cover my bills. So was dipping into savings and knew that that couldn't last forever. And that certainly wasn't going to be a good choice for setting up myself up for retirement years, right? So I actually did some drastic things. I quit my job. I went back to school and I really just started working on personal growth. So besides going back to school, I worked with a coach. I started reading books about growth and studied like leadership and growth and just personal development. And I really just set out on a journey of personal development was really what it was. And through that is how I realized that I had been undervaluing myself, that I wasn't knowing what I was truly worth. I wasn't understanding how money could really work for me instead of me just working for it and just, paying bills but having like a bigger mindset around it, just a bigger mindset around everything. And I didn't really realize that the money mindset is a change that I had made until I started working in financial planning after I did my career change. And this was probably, my career change was like 5 or 6 years ago. So once I started working with clients regularly, I realized that, they couldn't see the same things that I was seeing with their money. And a lot of times they had these internal obstacles that were blocking them, things that their parents told them or things that their friends that they respected that they thought were better off than them were telling them about what to do with their money. And, trying to explain to them that, your circumstances are completely unique and what works for somebody else isn't going to work for you. But that was harder to get through their head than I thought it would be, right? Because they don't know that they have those internal obstacles. And that's where the light bulb went off in my head. And I said, you know what? I get this. These are the types of blockages and the things that I had before in my mind that I somehow overcame on my own, without even realize I was doing it. And so then I started doing more research into what money mindset is and how it can be transformed. And that's when I started my course on money mindset mastery, so that I could help other people through a specific process rather than just muddling through and figuring it out. Because I know there's people out there that know that they need to change, but they don't know where to start. And I think you also asked me in there somewhere about why women, right? So I focus on women right now because I do think that we are brought up in a different money mindset than our brothers are, right? Our male counterparts. We're just treated differently. And hopefully as time goes on, that's getting better and better. But I know that we didn't talk about money in my household. I don't think my brother heard my parents talk about money either. So men are definitely, some of them are in the same boat, but there's just, you got to start somewhere. So just figuring out where to start is the biggest part.
Yeah, I think one of the key factors that you mentioned earlier in the very beginning is self-worth. Especially as women, we struggle with self-worth more than men, I believe, right? And which is why, again, it affects our relationship with money, because I know you also talk about perception of our self-worth and the relationship with money. So how can you talk about that? Can we now, maybe go even deeper into like how our self-worth or our perception about ourselves influence our money, relationship with money, and also the amount of money that we can attract into our life?
Yeah. So on a basic level, it's thinking about, what you're actually worth and feeling like that you couldn't earn a certain amount of money, or even that you don't deserve to have more money, right? That you're not worthy of that. And like I said, that's not all something that you think, out in your present mind. It's more subconsciously. And I have a story about I was about 30 years old, and I was moving across the country from state to state, and I called the president of a large corporation and I said, "Hey, this is what I do in the state that I'm in, and I'm moving. I see you don't have a branch there. Would you be interested in having me?" And she said, "Keep talking." And so I actually just called this person up. I had the guts to call her up, the president of this company. She gave me a job. She asked me how much I wanted to be paid. I told her. Well, come to find out, a couple of months later, I find out that there's another person that's doing kind of the same thing that I'm doing, but they're making like 50% more than I am because they asked for 50% more than I did. And it was really like a punch in the gut, right? A punch in the stomach, because I was thinking, gosh, I was so proud of myself for reaching out and having the guts to do this and getting this job and starting this new territory on my own, and how fantastic that I was, until I realized that I wasn't being paid for what I was offering. And this is quite a while ago. So this is many years ago, but it's an example of how I didn't know my own worth. And I didn't really know how to get past that. And so I ran into some similar instances later in life too, where I sacrificed my pay, feeling like I was going to get ahead by getting in a door somewhere, instead of really just saying this is what I'm worth, and and really feeling like I should be valued at that amount.
I think the reason why we don't ask for more is because, especially in the coaching space as well, people are so afraid to charge higher for what they are worth, right? It's because of the fear of rejection. What if I charge higher? They say no, right? That is even worse than getting a lower pay, right? So how do we deal with that fear? Or even if we hear no, how do we deal with that rejection?
I think that the biggest thing to remember is that the rejection isn't personal to you. They're not saying that I don't want to work with you. They're saying I can't justify that expense right now. But the other thing is that when you think about coaching, I don't think that people they know they need a coach or they want a coach, but they're not quantifying that with the money that they are going to get later. So investing in a coach or investing in a money mindset mentor, or whatever it is where you feel you need your personal growth, if you have that transformation, if you truly believe that that transformation can be made, then you're going to actually make up that money in more than what you've paid in, right? Because you're going to experience that personal growth. And in the long run, you should come out ahead.
Yeah, so true. Actually, like when they say no to you or when they reject you, when they don't want to hire you for whatever reason, it's not about you, it's about them, right? It's about the mindset that they are having at the moment. So what would you say, how do people start to identify and challenge their own limiting beliefs around money or self-worth? What, maybe is there a question that we can ask ourselves, like where do we start?
So when you think about a limiting belief, because mostly the things that I talk about are limiting beliefs, the money mindset are all limiting beliefs about money. But there's limiting beliefs, as you know very well, throughout life, not just with money. So the first thing is to actually recognize what those limiting beliefs are. So understand when you're saying something like, gosh, I'm not very good at this, or I'm terrible with money, or whatever it is that you're saying. The first thing that you need to do is realize that you're saying it. The second thing you need to do is ask yourself if that's really true. Is that true? If you say you're terrible with money, are you really terrible with money, or did you just have really bad circumstance at a point in your life that caused you to have some money issues, right? But are you really terrible with it, or can you learn to be better with it? So determining like the source of the belief also, and then just saying to yourself, like, I'm not going to believe this anymore. I'm not terrible with money. I'm actually good with money. I just had some bad circumstances and I'm going to move forward. And then you have to start like imagining yourself being free from the belief. We always heard about athletes who like visualize themselves getting across the finish line or visualize themselves doing something bigger and better. And that's what we're talking about, is saying like, I don't believe this anymore. I'm not terrible with money, and start imagining yourself being good with that, or whatever that limiting belief is. And then actually replace it and start saying like, I'm good at this. I'm good with money. And then start finding those things that prove that you are good with it, right? So you're finding evidence about your new belief, and just take pride in the little things, like small steps even, and make sure that you recognize, when you're doing that. So, oh, I paid all of my bills on time this month. I'm so good with money, even if it's just the small things. And then, start to recognize how you feel and what your behaviors are, and recognize how they're changing. So that's kind of like the process that you go through to start eliminating a limiting belief. A lot of people like journaling or keeping track of things. Others don't. It can just be like a daily meditation about it, right? So find what works for you and work through that process.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So can you share maybe a client success story or even your own personal experience of how changing your own overcoming a limiting belief around money helps change your financial trajectory? I don't want my listeners to think, oh yeah, that works for them, it doesn't work for me, or it's just like woo, how is it possible? So I want you to share a story or even your client's success story to show them, hey, it's possible. Here's the evidence, you can do it too.
Sure. Okay. So an example. So I'm working with a client who's probably around 30 years old, and we're working on, her career and what she wants to do next. And we're talking about how, all she wanted to do was work until it was find a job that was remote and make a certain amount of money per year, right? And so now she has that, and she's like, now what do I do next? So we're setting goals, and we're figuring out what that next step is, and how she's going to get there. So it's putting a strategic path in. But the idea is that when we have a number that we're working toward, and we have a path and we have a plan to get there, and it doesn't have to be a specific path. It can just be like taking small steps every day towards that goal, whatever it is. Setting a number and focusing on that number really helps you get there. And it can be a goal that's just a feeling too. Like if you want to have a goal that's a feeling, to be like feel carefree about your money and not even just like a number to get to, it's having that goal that you're working toward. So So what's happening is as I work with clients towards these goals, they start to feel in that sense of that goal. They start to feel that. They start to recognize what that will mean when they get there. And then when they get there, then they have that feeling and they're happy and they're content, and it changes their whole vibe that they're putting out into the world. And from there they have confidence and they have more, and so it just expounds, right? It just keeps going because they have this whole different vibe that they're putting out into the world, and the growth becomes quicker and easier because they're making these slight changes as they go. I hope that helps. Kind of jumped around there a little bit, but
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that you have to set a number, right? For example, like 10,000 or even $100,000, right? Do we want to set a timeline? Like, okay, I'm gonna achieve this goal by end of the year or end of whatever, right? Do we need to have a timeline?
so I do like to put a sort of a timeline in there, but I don't like to put like a specific date, because sometimes it takes a little longer and sometimes it doesn't take as long as we think it will. But it's really just transforming like your energy and like where you're putting your energy. So where you're putting your mind to work, whatever you're focusing on. And it's how much you can focus on that, and also like your circumstances, right? But I think the biggest thing is really that realizing that no matter where you are, as long as you put your mind to it and you're willing to put some work into it, there's improvement to be made. The best feeling for me as a mentor is to see that come to fruition when my clients come to that point where they're like, oh my gosh, I'm there, like I'm where I wanted to be. But then they're like, now what? And that's when we start working on the next steps, right? So, and sometimes your goal isn't a number, it's just a feeling that you want to have. Like, I don't want to feel stressed out about money anymore. I just want to feel like I'm content where I am. And that's a great goal to have too, right? We don't always need to be striving for more money. That's not the object of it. But also understanding that more money means that you can help, you can do more, you can do more good in the world, right? So there's all kinds of things that go along with setting that goal, because the goal isn't always about like what a number is that you want to make or that you want to have. It's about what you can do with that or how you'll feel when you get there.
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting perspective because if we were to think about it, like why do we want to make that money? It's because we believe that once we have that money, we will feel a certain way, right? We can buy a car that makes us feel a certain way. We can, sit in the car and that makes us feel a certain way. So that's what I want my listeners to know. It's not just about the number, it's about the feeling when you have that money, right, in your bank account. So, okay, let's talk about generational money patterns, like the family, money patterns, because I work with a lot of coaches as well, like spiritual coaches. I have some readings in the psychic reading, and I was told that I'm the one who is chosen to break my generational money patterns. So that can be daunting, right? And I know I'm on this path. Like I can tell just by, like the things that I'm doing, like I'm building my own business, but my family, they are not entrepreneurs, right? So it's very obvious to me. But how can someone, and I know a lot of my listeners as well, because they are like business owner entrepreneurs. So how can someone begin to heal their families, financial legacy, or also create a new financial narrative, especially when they are still living with their family members and they are not being supportive? They don't believe in what you do. They think you're crazy, right? And it's not gonna happen because it's impossible for them. Hence, the thing is impossible for you. So how do we then, also, I feel like, and this is my current situation, to be honest. I feel like I'm stuck, like between my new beliefs and also my family's like old beliefs. So, what advice do you have for people like us?
Yeah. So that's a very common money situation, right? So, and I think part of what you're talking about are money scripts or money stories, which were the money scripts were defined by Brad Klontz, who's a financial psychologist and an author, and you can read his books to learn more about this. But he identified like four basic categories of money scripts. And these are the scripts that come down from our families or even just like our environment, right? So they are like money avoidance, money worship, money status, and money vigilance. So like money avoidance is just like people who think that money is corruptive and that rich people are greedy. What that leads to then is them having pride in living with less money. So just staying poor because they have that excuse to say like, well, rich people are bad anyway. And then there's like money worship where money is considered paramount. And it's like, money's going to solve all of my problems. So like we're talking about like that $1 million or whatever, just getting that $1 million is not going to solve your problems. You're going to have the same problems, even if you get that money, unless you do that internal work to work on your own satisfaction and happiness and fulfillment, along with the idea of coming to that number, right? So you don't want to just say like, I'm going to get that number and everything's going to be better, because that's not going to happen. The only way that's going to happen is if you have internal work and you start working on making yourself feel better without material things. And then like money status is when people think their net worth is the measure of their self-worth. It's kind of the same thing, saying that like you're having that amount of money is not going to make you worthy. Like you need to find that internal work that makes you worthy. Your social status is important to you if you have a money status mindset. It's like keeping up with the neighbors and making sure that you always have like the one up from your friends, things like that. And so people like that might look like they're wealthy on the outside, but they really probably truly have a ton of credit card debt and like really bad financial habits. And so they're probably more stressed about money than you would think they would be. And then like there's money vigilance, which is a total cautious or prudent approach towards money. It's like being super attentive to your finances and being future and planning oriented, which is great, except that people who have money vigilance are like so conscious about saving and budgeting that they might be like saving too much or not really living the life that they could live to be, fulfilled, right? But being frugal and having like a higher net worth is good, but not to like an extreme. So the idea is to figure out what money mindset or script you have and what combination. There might be more than one. And the idea is like when you're talking about like, living with your parents and them having their own beliefs that they're putting onto you. They're having beliefs that they're putting onto you, feeling like, this is, what you're doing is I don't want to say crazy or whatever, but it's out there because like you're taking a risk and you're saying like, I'm going to do this coaching, and you have this whole belief and this idea of what the vision of your future looks like. And to them, they can't see it because they have their own script inside their head that's telling them what they know, what they've grown up with, what their tradition is in their family and their families before them, right? And you're going out on this limb and you're just saying like, I'm doing something completely different, right? And so they're not understanding because they've never seen anybody do it before. As long as you can believe it and you believe in it and that it's going to work for you, and you stay confident in that, and you're also mindful of your money at the same time. You're not making decisions that will be detrimental to you. Like you're working through it in a positive way with your money to make sure that you're keeping within your means and everything while you're doing it is the key.
Yeah, but I just feel like, because we all know that money is energy, right? It's all about energy. So when I'm with my family, right, or anyone, right, not just my family, who has like, scarcity mindset, energy, which is affecting me, when I'm trying to work on my abundance mindset. So yeah, how do you deal with people who have scarcity mindset?
Yeah, so that's a really popular scarcity mindset. And it's true, like you feed off of those vibrations from the people around you that are maybe not believing in you or not believing it can be done or whatever it is that they're not believing, right? That energy is coming onto you. So it's really important in that space for you to focus on your mindset and getting in that space where you can feel your own energy and feel your own positive mindset around that, to that abundance, right? And feeling that you're bringing in that other energy. So that's where like mindful meditation and journaling and just, finding some presence to bring that that mindset back to you is important.
Yeah. So walk us through your coaching program. And I know you only offer group coaching. Why is that? And so what can people learn or expect when they work with you?
Yeah, so it's an 8-week course, and right now I'm doing it live via Zoom only, not in person, but it's live. It's 8 weeks, and we use assessments that were created by psychologists. So there's true assessments with psychological research behind them, over 40 years of research created by some famous psychologists and authors. And we go through a process where we do the assessments, and then they get written results back, and then we discuss the results. We talk about our own stories, our own upbringing, the other things that have affected us in our lives, whether it be coaches or jobs or bosses or whatever it is, how we've been affected by money, and mindsets. And we just talk about those and get them out in the open and start to realize, like, what are the things that are holding us back. And so it's truly a transformational journey. We talk about all different kinds of things. And then after the 8-week course, then there's you get a one-on-one call with me to set some goals. And then there's an ongoing time where we can, like, I just put Zoom like get-togethers where you can pop in and, just do a checkup or whatever, so that I'm not just leaving you like hanging after you're done with the course. Like, hey, set you free. Like, you can still get mentoring from me ongoing after the course is done. And I'm hoping to offer an online version soon, a recorded version, because it's really hard sometimes for people to find 8 weeks in a row where they have the same time available. But I do offer, I do record the sessions within that cohort, and then those people can watch it. So it works. So, and I chose a group because I want people to feel like they're not alone. I want them to know that they have support of other people that are going through the same thing. While everybody's money mindset is not the same money mindset, everybody is truly unique in that sense in their life experiences. But it's nice to know that you're not alone, and you don't feel like an outsider, or like, you're this anomaly that's terrible with money, that that everybody else is struggling with their own things too.
Yeah, it's like you're not alone in this journey, right? You're not special,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So thank you so much for coming and sharing so abundantly with us today. Now you have been very generous and kind with your time. So we are gonna end with final 5 rapid fire questions. These are 5 questions that I ask my guests at the end of the show. Every question has to be answered in 1 word or 1 sentence maximum.
Okay.
Rapid fire. All
I'll try
right.
my best.
The first question is, what is one thing you wish you knew earlier?
Think bigger.
Love that. Second question, if you could live your life all over again, what would you do differently?
Think bigger.
Am I getting the same answer again? Okay. Third question, what is something you're trying to learn or curious about right now?
Getting my message out. Sorry, that's not like 1 word, it's 1
Oh,
sentence.
it's 1 sentence. Yeah, 1 sentence. All right. The next question, if you have 5 minutes and the whole world is listening to you, what would you say?
You can do it, whatever it is that you are aspiring to do or be. If you set your mind to it, it can be done. You just have to make small steps every day and open up your mind and learn.
Wow, that is very powerful. I can't believe you just came out with that. I thought you were gonna say like bigger. All right. The last question is, what brings you the greatest joy?
Seeing transformation in other people and helping other people. Going through an 8-week course, you'd think 8 weeks is not very long. It's basically like 2 months of your life. But when you see people come in and just be timid and shy and like just embarrassed about their money feelings and situation, and then 8 weeks later come out and be like, I got this. I know I can do this. And I have a path. And like, that really brings me fulfillment and joy, is seeing that.
Yeah, it's doing what you do. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
all the work that you're doing. Thank you so much again. Let our listeners know where is the best place to find you, work with you, and connect with you.
So you can find me on my website at mindsetandmoney.com. And I also have a special offer out there for podcast listeners. So it's mindsetandmoney.com/pod. So POD. So you can check that out.
What is the special offer for listeners?
Yeah, so it's something new I just came up with. So it's a discount off of the money mindset cohort. And I always have my free money mindset quiz that's on my website too, but I'm also offering a download on there. I think it's Habits to Success or something on there.
Right. Yeah. Love that. Awesome. All right, guys. I hope you're feeling more confident right now towards your own financial abundance and well-being, knowing that you can change your own money mindset and transform your life forever. Go follow Linda, go to her website, connect with her, join her program. I'll put all the links in the show note below, so make sure you check it out. And also follow us on Instagram if you haven't already. And remember to like and subscribe so you never miss another episode coming to you every Wednesday. And I will always leave you the same way as I leave you with every other episode. Show up. The world needs you and you need you. Thanks for listening, and I wish you all a joyful and amazing day ahead. Thank you again for tuning into Find Joy Joyan podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, take a screenshot and share it on your IG story and tag findjoyjoyan_podcast so I know you are listening. And leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already done so. And remember to hit the subscribe button whether you are listening on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, or any of your other favorite platforms. If you love what we are doing and want to become one of our sponsors, you can send me a DM to connect. And thanks for being here. I will see you soon in the next episode.